Welcome to the Tarryn Reeves Show, where your journey to empowerment takes center stage. I'm your host, Tarryn Reeves, a best-selling author and publishing expert. Together, we'll dive into the hearts and minds of visionaries, disruptors, and trailblazing leaders to explore the most compelling and thought-provoking ideas in life, business, and marketing. Let's inspire, impact, and ignite. This is the Tarryn Reeves Show. Hello. Today I'm joined by the amazing Danielle Uhl, who is a certified coach and business mentor. She is on a mission to help more small businesses have long-term success. She spent 10 years in the corporate world and then she took her leap to pursue her dreams of being an entrepreneur. Now, I have known this woman for a long time. I was actually her VA when I first started out in business about 6 years ago, maybe even longer.
So long
And
ago.
she is incredible. She's built and scaled 3 profitable businesses and graduated from business school with a bachelor's and master's. So she basically knows a thing or two about running a business, starting a business, especially. She is multi passionate and she is a photographer. She's a singer. If you haven't checked out her music, this woman has vocals, guys. And she is running the most amazing startup business course. Danielle, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I love how this has just developed over the years since I first met you and worked with you as my VA. So it's just crazy to be here.
It is so crazy and halfway across the world, not even halfway, more than halfway
Oh my
across the
gosh,
world, right?
totally. I think it's like what, 18, 19 hours difference between us?
Ugh,
Crazy.
yes, let's not do that as a one sitting flight.
Oh my gosh, totally.
Hey, tell me more about I've seen you heading up this movement, so to say, called the hashtag Watch Me. What is that all about?
Yeah. So I always love talking about this because hashtag watch me is something I have trademarked now officially a part of my brand, but really it started just from my own story being an entrepreneur. I was just starting my first business and then dabbling into starting my second business. And really when I was doing that, I had so many different mentors, coaches, different people telling me that I needed to basically stop what I was doing. I needed to choose one thing. I needed to niche down. I couldn't do multiple things and be successful, and just kept hearing this over and over. And it was really frustrating. And it's funny, as much as I was told you shouldn't be doing these things, it wasn't as disappointing as it was fueling my energy to be like, hashtag watch me. I'm going to do it anyway because this is what I know is my truth. So it
Yeah.
was really both mindset and attitude that I really adopted when I was first getting started and saying, okay, you guys don't believe I'm going to do it, but this is what's calling to me. I want to be able to do, especially multiple things, being the multi passionate that I was, whether it was going to school full time and having my full time job, as well as starting my first business, or then starting my second business and running both of them at the same time. People were like, stop, you're not going to be able to be successful. And I was like, hashtag watch me. Yes, I will. So for me, it was both a challenge and the mindset that I took, but it was also just such a huge part of what allowed me to give myself permission that I didn't have to do either business or the way that I was doing business in my lifestyle and the way I was approaching everything, the way that quote unquote works or how other people have done it that's been successful for them. That's great, but that didn't always feel aligned to me. So it just gave me a lot of permission to really do things my own way and find my own version of success truly by doing a lot of different things and letting that be okay. So it was really permission giving at the same time to just pave my own path. And that has since then not only turned into a huge part of my brand, but really something that I tell my clients and everyone who comes into my community or into my space is that's something that is not just about me now. It's something I want you to adopt as an attitude or a mindset to adopt as your own and say, hashtag watch me. I'm going to do it anyway. I'm going to pave my own path. I'm going to create my own version of success, whatever that personally looks for you. And that's really the way I've always worked with all of my clients in whatever capacity that is. We are all unique individuals, and alignment in a way looks so different to every single person. And the way that you can be successful doesn't have to look like anyone else's. And that's really where that started and stemmed from and continues to be such a huge piece of my brand nowadays.
Yeah, amazing. Such an empowering message too in any area of life, not just business, like hashtag watch me. And it is refreshing to come across a business coach who's like, oh, you don't have to niche down. Or niche down, as you say over there, if you
Totally.
don't want to. Because I remember I used to find it so frustrating because I'm multi passionate myself. At one stage, I
Yeah, you
was
are.
running virtual assistants and web development business, I was business coaching, I was book editing. As well as obviously doing all the stuff on the side that I like to do. Although now I'm fully in on the publishing. Although I do have the personal brand and the podcast, so I would say I'm still multi-passionate because all of those
I love
things
it.
light me up, right?
Exactly. It is. Like, you have to let all of the parts of you allow them to all be expressed, whether or not that's something you're monetizing, right? Like, you made the point, some of the things you're doing on the side, or me nowadays, a lot of the things that I'm trying to do more of is actually just hobbies and things that light my soul up and not necessarily something that I'm turning into a business or monetizing. But
Yeah.
that's really a part of what multi-passionate means to me is it doesn't mean you have to run 3 very different businesses like I do or be running multiple different businesses. For you, this could look like being a mom and running a business or having your day job on the side of your business or your side hustle. And it's just about managing multiple different things and allowing yourself to be all parts of you and letting that be okay instead of feeling you have to be forced in this box about choosing one thing and just doing that for the rest of your life. Because that to me, I feel is never sustainable for most people, but especially us multi-passionates who like to do so many things.
Yeah. I'm curious. So, most business coaches will say that you do have to focus on one thing, you do have to niche down and all of these sorts of things. And it's obviously advice that you chose not to take and forged your own path in the business space, saying, no, I'm going to be the multi passionate business coach. Hashtag watch me, watch us. I'm curious how that felt when you stepped out of that and whether or not you currently have a coach now.
Oh, that's a really good question. So, one of the things I'll say for the way that I work with my clients, and whether it's for me personally or like for my clients, I love to give them permission and freedom to be like, you don't have to choose just one thing, you can do multiple things. One of the things I do say is it is helpful to niche, just be very specific when it comes to marketing.
Yeah.
So, one of the ways that I have done this for my businesses, even running 3 very different businesses, was when it comes to the marketing piece of it, that's where you get really, really specific and speak to that one person, focus on one niche or like that one area that you really want to do and speak to and that your client, ideal client, like really resonates and everything. When it comes to your marketing, that's where you can get really specific to have really powerful marketing. But it doesn't mean that you yourself or as a business have to do that one thing and that's it. And I think that that's where a lot of that gets caught up. So, being a coach, you can be a life coach and a business coach and do a lot of different types of coaching, especially when you are certified as a coach. But when it comes to your marketing, getting really, really specific on one type of client or one area that you want to be really good at coaching on is going to help your marketing, but it's not going to weed everyone else out. So if somebody comes to you, and I've had this multiple times. It was so funny because I used to speak directly to women for business coaching specifically, and I'd share that message all the time. And yet I'd still have males coming to me about like life coaching, and I worked with them, right? So it doesn't mean you don't have to shut yourself off from doing other things, even if it's like within your business, but getting specific on your marketing is where it's at. So that's how I work with my clients. I have worked with multiple coaches over the years, whether it was individually or in their different programs, whether it was a container group program or a container within working with them one on one. Something that I had to really learn through the process because I feel like so often when you're working with someone, like you just want to be a sponge, right? And you want to take all of their advice and just do all of the things that they tell you to do, which is not always a bad thing. But that was one of the things I really had to, I would say, both look for in a coach and also pump the brakes is a good way to say it. As I was working with someone, really understanding, like, okay, this is what they're telling me to do, what feels aligned for me and what doesn't. And if it doesn't, how can I pump those brakes and do it in a way that aligns to my bigger mission or aligns to me personally or my energy or whatever that looked like. because just because it worked for them doesn't mean it's going to work for me in that way. So as I went on, I was really particular about the information that I learned. How did that specifically apply to me and my business, and what resonated, what didn't? Take what did, leave the rest, and let that be okay, because you're still going to learn so much through that process. But it doesn't mean you have to just take everything without a grain of salt, basically, and like just do everything that they're telling you, because that's not really what a coach should do. That's more of consulting or mentoring. Coaching should be more pulled from your own, like what's aligned for you. So I felt like I had to do that on my own a little bit and be really specific about, intentional, I should say, about going into different coaching relationships with that in my mind, so that I didn't get too lost in what other people thought I should do, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that you made that distinction about the marketing because, as a marketing professional in some aspects myself, I do believe that you have to be very, very specific in your marketing in order to land the right people. But like you said, that
Absolutely.
doesn't mean you're not doing other things in your business. For example, my publishing company, we market that we specifically work with entrepreneurs to create nonfiction books that generate leads, etc. But that doesn't mean that we haven't done and don't do children's books, that we haven't and don't do art coffee table books. But if you're just going, yeah, I'm a publisher, people just go, oh, well, what does that mean for me? And it tends to get very
Totally.
lost in the digital space.
That's so true in any industry for sure. So I love that.
Yeah,
I love that the listeners
100%.
have two very key examples now too of like how that
Yeah,
works.
that's right. That's right. And I also love that you made that distinction about being able to be under the tutelage of a coach, but not just cookie cuttering their approach or just taking everything that they say, because we are unique individuals, we are unique businesses. And if the coach is any good, they will understand that and not be just slathering on a cookie cutter approach. But there are so many in the
Totally.
industry because it is so unregulated that do that. And what would you say to somebody, because it is human nature to, people are going to hate me for this, be more of a sheep than a leader or a
Yeah.
wolf, right? And very few people are secure in themselves enough to be the wolf. It's easier to be the sheep. And by that I mean, when you are in the coaching space or being coached by somebody, it's easier to just go, oh, okay, I'll just do what you say and everything will work out and it'll be great. But if it doesn't align for you, there's no way in hell it's going to work out.
Exactly. Can I just say I love this so much, because I feel like I'm saying all of this with like certainty right now, but this was not me the entire time like starting my
No,
business. Like I
none of
have
us
been
were.
an entrepreneur. Yeah, I've been an entrepreneur now for over 11 years. This has been such a long time coming, and especially when you are first getting started and you don't know what you don't know, or especially I would say when you're in that place of that desperation or that feeling like nothing's working, or I need to be making more money. I need to be getting more clients. And you really have this sense of, I don't know what I'm doing wrong. Just tell me and I'll do it. And I can't tell you how often I was there, especially at the beginning of my journey. And when a coach comes, especially with their great sales pages and the way that they do their marketing copy and everything that really speaks to those things and pulls you in to be like, just teach me everything that you did in order to get to where you are and I'll do it. And that is just so common. So, this is a really important conversation around that, because so many of us, nearly all of us, are in this boat, at least starting out this way, if not like a couple times throughout our journey. And it's so easy to lose yourself and your vision for your business, or what you know to be true for you versus what's not aligned, whether that's from a values standpoint, an energetic standpoint, a mindset, and just there's so many different pieces that this could fall into. I feel like this is a big one energetically too, just because I work a lot with my clients with human design or with the Enneagram and different personality tools, which helps me understand who they are as an individual person. And for human design specifically, like if you've read anything about human design or have a gist of even just the types of human design profiles that there are, a generator or a manifesting generator is going to have a lot of internal energy and be able to be that like worker bee and just get stuff done when they need to. But a projector or a reflector or some of the other types don't have that, and they have to work at a much slower pace. And this was something that was super eye opening for me, and just how my clients work differently than me. but why each of us are so different and really have our own path to business because we are just designed differently. So it's just a really good reminder that to all of us, again, energetically, mindset, values, in all of the ways, like you are going to work different
Mhm.
than whoever you're working with, coach or mentor or whoever that looks like. If you can take the time to learn from them in whatever method that is, working with them one on one, doing their course, watching a masterclass, whatever it is, and then setting aside some time after you've learned things to tap into what feels aligned for you and what doesn't, and why doesn't it feel aligned? Because sometimes I would say that leads to things that are coming up for you and fears and doubts and insecurities and different things that you can do some work around that to really feel more aligned and work through all of the hard work that we do as personal development and entrepreneurs and all of the things. But if it's a fear or a doubt, that's something that can be worked through. If it's something that just feels unaligned to you and just it's something you're going to procrastinate on, it's something you're never going to do, it's something you're not ever going to have the energy to do or show up in that way. I feel like this comes up in the area of sales so much because people
Yeah.
do sales so differently,
Oh my
depending on
gosh.
your energy and how you work. So,
Yeah.
especially in relation to
100%.
sales, yeah, what is going to feel aligned for you and actually have you showing up for your business and doing the things you need to do. And if you're not, question that. And whatever's not feeling aligned, how can you adapt that? How can you change how you're approaching things to really fit you? And that takes time. That's not something that obviously, even in
Yeah.
my own journey, has just been a flip of a question and then it's solved. It's taken years, which is okay too. But it's a really, really important question. Just understand yourself and how you best work and apply that learning and then unlearn the rest or leave the rest.
Yeah, 100%. I love this topic so much because it really shows me the evolution of business as more women are coming into the entrepreneurial space,
Totally.
bringing in that understanding of who you are as a unique individual instead of just running like a bull at a fence all the time in that very masculine energy of doing, doing, doing. And I had to learn this, still am learning this the extremely hard way. I'm a
Yeah.
projector in human
Okay.
design. And remember when we met, I was a virtual assistant.
Yeah.
Completely wrong job for me to be
Sure. Just not
doing all
sustainable
the
for your
things.
energy.
Not sustainable for my energy, right? Which is why I then chose to scale it up into agency level, which was a game changer for my energy levels because then I had
Sure.
people in the right positions. But part of my onboarding process when I did have the VA agency was when I was onboarding people to work for me was discovering their human design type because I couldn't hire on projectors or people in those very on the ground labor intensive tasks because we are not designed like that. But unfortunately, there's still so much conditioning, and I'm talking from personal experience, and people would have experienced this on different levels. But for me to do business successfully, I can't sit at my desk 5, 8 hours a day. I just can't do it, especially because I'm a mum to an 8-year old and a almost 1-year old. Like my energy
Totally.
levels are just not there to do that. And my attention span, honestly, is just not there to do that. And so I've taken to reading in the middle of the day, not for work. I'm a massive nerd. I read books as well, just for fun.
Me too. I
Books
love
are life.
it.
So I'll go and I'll sit in the sun for half an hour and read, or I'll have a cup of tea, or I'll take a bath, or something like that. And I still feel so guilty doing that. And I know it, but I'm very aware of that feeling of, oh, you shouldn't be doing this. You should be cold
Totally.
outreaching 700 people on LinkedIn. What's wrong with you? You're going to
Oh
fail.
my gosh, right?
That uncomfortable feeling of you're doing it wrong. Everything's going to fail and
Yeah,
burn. But when I do that and take the time to nurture myself and honor my energy in that space, business is so much more enjoyable. And also, people gravitate towards me a whole lot more.
exactly. It's
Yeah.
amazing how true alignment, it seems a bit magical and out there, but it's so true. Once you are in alignment with your energy, with how you are supposed to work, with what you're working on, and how you do business in general, once you're aligned, things not only feel better, but they do come easier. I do feel like I've had times in my business where I felt like I was pushing a boulder up a hill and just trying to fit into the box, trying to do all the, what do you say,
Yeah.
700 reach outs on LinkedIn a day, or all of the stuff that people tell you you should be doing. And that's a really good thing to bring up too, because I always say if the word should comes up in your vocabulary in your head, that should be your red flag to take a step back and actually check to see what is out of alignment for you, because that is such a word. If it feels fun and easy or exciting to do, sure, there's always going to be those tasks. I feel like bookkeeping is always the one
Ugh,
of the ones that comes up where if it's not something you're absolutely dreading and feeling like you should do it, something's probably out of alignment. If it's not, then you find yourself doing it and making progress, and business just gets to feel easier at that point, and things like you do feel more magnetic and things just kind of show up once you're in alignment. But
yeah,
when you're not, you're feeling like you're pushing that boulder up the hill or saying you should be doing different things, that is such a red flag to take that step back and check your
yeah,
alignment for sure.
100%. Let's talk about the word success then, because I feel like when we first start out in business, we have someone else's version of success in our bullseye, in our sight line, and we go after it like, "God, I'm going to get what the coaches say, make your first 10K month, make your first six figures. But if that's not success to
Totally.
you, what is the point? So, how would you help a client, for example, go about understanding what their version of success looks like?
Oh, I love this question so much. I try to walk through, especially all my private clients, like this is one of the first things we dive into because we can't create anything in your business until we know what that version of success is. Otherwise, like you said, what's the point? So, something I start with, and one of the things that I like to break down for them, because we usually do have that cookie cutter approach to success, that 10K months, the six figure business, the seven figure, like the things that we see in marketing all of the time. And I feel like that can be a good place to start because something with that, something about that resonated with you. But how can we get more detailed in what that actually looks like for you? Or like you want the 10K months or the six-figure business because of what it's going to give you. What are those things? So asking them, breaking that down into what does your ideal day look like? If you could choose to just work on your business and be in your business and also things outside of your business, like for your daily life, like what would your ideal day look like? And breaking it down to that and what's most important to you, whether it is in your business and about your business or in your life, your hobbies, how you would spend your time, the downtime that you need and or want because of family or because of that's just how you work because maybe you are a projector or need more time and space and fluidity in your day. Just depending on how you feel like you want to work, what does that ideal day look like? And what are some of those key things of importance for you to really call out of why that 10K months or the six-figure business, or usually it stems around some of those things. Like, why did that resonate with you because of what that's going to actually give you? Time, freedom, more time with your family. Maybe it's more money to pay off debt or more money to go on the biggest vacation that you've wanted to go on for a while or to buy that dream house that you wanted. Or as you start breaking into those specifics, it gets to be more and more clear. And especially when you can break it down into your ideal day, you can actually see that vision so much clearer of like, oh, yeah, this is how I want to work. So, how do I work in that way and create a business that facilitates that? I always like to say when I'm teaching people to start a business for the first time, I always had this idea and dream in the back of my mind that I wanted to open like an artisan shop with crafts and artists and other people that could sell stuff in my shop. I love those types of shops. They're one of my favorite things to go to anywhere. But
Same.
something that I realized for me was that was never, speaking of your virtual assistant business, that was never going to be a sustainable business for me because I don't want to be, it was kind of why I left my day job to begin with. I don't want to have to go into a brick and mortar place of business every day and be there for certain hours of the day. I want more of that time freedom. I want to be able to spend time with my family, our dogs, and my husband. I want to be able to travel and work from my laptop. And like having a store like that, at least for the first few years, probably it didn't align. It didn't make sense. So, using that as an example of does the type of business you want to start align with this version of success that we've now laid out and how you want to live, how you want to work? What are some of those key important pieces to what those things are going to give you that do create that version of success for you? And how can we create your business to fit that? And if it doesn't, How can we make adjustments? Something else I just want to add to your version of success, especially as you're thinking through those things, is this doesn't just have to be something that you do once. It
Mm.
probably shouldn't be something that you do once and then stick to until you get there. This gets to evolve. I like to, just like your business gets to evolve, your version of success is a moving target. So you get to continue to, as you get into things in your business, you're going to realize more and more and get more clarity on what feels aligned and what doesn't, and what things you want to continue to change. So think of your version of success as this moving target that gets to evolve with you, with your interests, with your seasons, with
Yeah.
your times of life that you're in. This gets to move with you, and there's nothing wrong about that either.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. Different stages of your life require a different commitment from you, especially as a woman. And again, I'm probably going to
Totally.
get heat for this, but as a mama, we do tend to carry more of the family load at home. And you're cooking, you're cleaning, you're planning school activities, you're dropping kids at play dates, and then they've got 2 to 6 weeks school holidays, depending on the time of year. And so you can't just go, okay, well, my version of success is I wake up at 5 and then I do a workout and then I have my smoothie and then I meditate for 10 minutes and then I'm sending 30 connection requests and then I'm reviewing this book. It just unfortunately sometimes doesn't happen like that. And
Totally.
depending on the season of your life, right? That will happen again if further down the line, but we're looking at 20, 30 years away for that, for my kids to grow up. And so it's like, okay, well, what does success look like for me now? Because I want to spend time with my kids, right? So I need more time
Absolutely.
away from the business and more time in my mama role, wearing my mama hat, right? Which means that, okay, cool. I'm going to have to get the business, or I do have to get the business to a place where I've got people who can still be running what I built so that I can do those things. And it's just about thinking of those things and adapting and choosing how to live your life.
Exactly. I love that for us, it gets to start there too, because you don't have to build the business and then try to fit your life into it. It gets to be the exact opposite. You get to decide what season of life you're in and how you want to or need to live your day to day and then build your business around that. And there's just
Yeah.
so many ways to build whatever business that you're looking at doing into your life,
And
basically.
it's a
So it
choice that
gives you
you
way more
make,
freedom.
right? So many people say to
Exactly.
me, they're like, oh, why don't you just put the kids in daycare so that you can get a real job? I love that as
Oh,
entrepreneurs, get a real job.
hashtag watch
Um,
me. Yeah.
yeah, as as everybody who does not have an entrepreneurial bone in their body says, just get a real job. I'm like, you have no idea what I do all day, do you? I'm not sitting here drinking the yeah. And yes, it would be easier to put my kids in daycare, but my choice is I don't want to see my kids for a max of 35 minutes a day when I'm getting them out of bed, rushing them through their breakfast, shoving them into someone else's care so that they can see their first steps or first words or whatever it is, and
Sure.
then going to work for somebody else's dream and then coming home and bathing them, doing their homework and putting them to bed. Like to me, that's not a choice. That's not a lifestyle that I want. Now, it works 100% for some people and zero judgment there, like good on them, but that's not a choice that I wanted. So, yes, I will choose the harder, in inverted
Yeah.
commas, way of the entrepreneurial path every single time because that's the lifestyle that I want to lead.
Absolutely. You get to
Mm.
choose all of
That's
that, which
right. And
is
isn't that a
one of the
beautiful
reasons I
thing?
fell in love with business. Yeah,
Yeah, freedom of choice. It's amazing. Now, what
totally.
tools would you recommend people add to their toolkit to overcome that fear of conformity, that fear of choosing something outside of the box of what society says that we should be living like?
Yes. Goosebumps. Okay, first and foremost, adopt the hashtag watch me mindset. Take this away, but seriously, use it as your own kind of mindset or play with it and have it be like your attitude, which is almost like an alter ego that you can put on as hashtag watch me. I'm going to do it my way. I'm going to create the life and the business that I want to create. That's really what it's there for. So I would say first and foremost, do that. Honestly, I feel like a huge piece of that too is that guilt or shame that we typically feel around you're not doing it in a way that somebody else said that you should or that worked for them. Whether that's like going and getting quote unquote a real job or just doing business in some way that has worked for someone else, again, doesn't mean it's going to work for you in that way or it's going to feel aligned. And because of that, you are going to probably deal with some emotions and physiological feelings of guilt and shame. And what if I'm doing this wrong? What if I'm not good enough to make this happen? All of this doubt and fear, you're going to have a lot of that come up. And some of the best tools that I would say I've actually worked into my course, and I actually teach with these now because these things come up for all of us in some way. So it's learning how to process those feelings and emotions and help your body, like nervous system, regulate back into a calm, relaxed state instead of being worked up in that fight or flight mode or like that. Just basically your body telling you that you're not in a safe place. And how can I get back into a more sustainable place for my nervous system, basically?
Yeah.
So, definitely nervous system regulation tools are super helpful. Dancing, like it can be as easy as like dancing, going for a walk, like any type of movement for your body is super helpful. If you've ever done any sort of breath work, doesn't have to be anything intensive, but even just like simple breathing exercises like the 4 and 4 or different like patterned breathings. I know there's apps for breath work that you can even follow or probably look something up on YouTube, but something that gets energy out of your body. So, movement, breath work, meditation can be helpful if that's a tool that you've used before. If you are not in like a regulated state and you're worked up with a lot of energy in your body, I would say meditation isn't always super helpful if you've never done it before. So, doing something more physical can be helpful to help you process through some of that energy before you
Yeah.
make any decisions going forward. So, I would say those are some of the biggest things as well as just journaling or allow yourself to talk through with a close friend or just to yourself about what's going on, what you're feeling, allowing your emotions and things to be heard, allowing yourself to be heard is really important, even if it's just in your journal, can be really helpful for you to get it out of your body and then decide what to do with that going forward.
Mm. Yeah, I think nervous system regulation is so important for every entrepreneur because we need to have a healthy appetite for risk to even start a business in
Sure.
the first place. And I always say that being an entrepreneur is like being punched in the face again and again, and just we just keep getting back up for more because we know the next punch is
Yeah.
coming. And we still choose to get back up and go, just give me more.
Isn't that the truth? Oh my
Oh,
gosh. We're
it's
a little
100% the truth.
sadistic, I
Only
would
crazy
say.
people are entrepreneurs. I promise you, only crazy people are entrepreneurs. But to have a regulated nervous system is the only way to healthily move through it. And I have been very unhealthily moving through it in the past. But
Yeah,
nervous system regulation, especially as someone with PTSD, chronic depression, major anxiety in my
totally.
past from my childhood, my nervous system is shot. Like I should not be an entrepreneur
Girl,
based
I
on
hear
my
ya.
nervous system.
We make some of the best entrepreneurs because, like, we do you
I've
think it would be
traumatized
shot,
people.
but yeah, but we actually have more of a capacity for it because we're just, like, used
100%.
to extremes, and we kind of do it
Exactly.
to ourselves in a little bit
Exactly.
because
That's right. But I
but
did do a somatic workout the other day. It was like a somatic yoga practice almost. And
nice.
my God, I felt amazing afterwards. I was like, I
Oh,
look like
so
an
good.
idiot right now. Thank God I'm at home on my own. But the results were phenomenal. Honestly, I highly recommend doing things like you've mentioned, the breath work and
Absolutely. Somatic stuff,
somatic, or even just
embodiment
dancing like a
practices,
crazy
yeah.
person and putting your favorite song on. That's so good.
Just moving that energy around. It feels so silly, like you said, I'm sure none of us are going to look good doing it, so do it in a closed door room of your house when you're alone and turn on your music or whatever you need to, but it's so important to just to be able to regulate yourself so that you can make good, solid decisions for yourself and especially your business and showing up for your clients and everything that you need to do. Because when you're making those decisions from a state of fight or flight or just unregulated state, you're not going to make the best decisions. And it's probably just going to lead to like more and more issues, more and more anxiety, and you just continue to spiral. So, yeah, doing things like some of the practices that we've mentioned is going to be super, super helpful. I wish they were. I feel like they're more and more talked about lately, but they're just like not taught about enough, especially just in regular everyday life, let alone in
Yeah.
entrepreneurship.
Yeah, absolutely. Being able to regulate your nervous system in the crazy world we're living in, it's not
So
sustainable
true.
the way we're currently living. It's just madness. I don't even want to go out, out into public anymore. What is wrong with you people? How are you still alive?
Yeah. I know. I've been like detoxing a lot from social media, and I
Yeah.
cannot tell you how much of a difference, even just deleting the apps from my phone has made such a difference just to my nervous system. It's crazy. Just the amount
Yeah.
of information that we take in and how that truly does affect us, even when we don't think it like consciously does. It's crazy how
Mhm.
much energy that takes.
Yeah. Now, speaking of nervous systems and things like that, obviously entrepreneurship comes with a load of challenges on the regular. Can you think
It's easy.
back to a moment in your life where you had, in your entrepreneurial life, that is, one of your biggest challenges, and what kept you moving through that? What kept the vision in mind so that you got up after you got punched in the face and kept going?
Oh god, which time? Oh my gosh.
Which does.
For
You're like,
real.
there's been 10 times today, Bill. What are you talking about?
I know, right? So, like an hour ago? No.
Yeah.
There's always so many challenges. I feel like one of the biggest, I would say, just like general pieces of advice I would say is learning to not take things personally has been a constant lesson in entrepreneurship in general for me. So whether it's feeling like my business, what I was doing wasn't working and I wasn't signing enough clients or making enough money, or oh my gosh, I've been laying on the couch in tears how many times, like thinking that over the last decade.
Yeah, we've all been there.
But oh, totally. Or just running into different client scenarios or frustrations in
Mhm.
whatever sense that comes up. Just remembering that my business is its own entity and it's not, especially the majority of client things that come up or business things or like whatever it was, it didn't mean anything about me personally. It didn't mean that I wasn't good enough or that I was failing, especially when it came to another person and they were having a day and they were having issues with everything in the world. Most of the time, even if it's directed at me, doesn't mean it's has anything to do about me. And that's
Yeah.
really hard when somebody is like taking it out on you. And just remembering that nothing about your business has to be personal. We
Mm.
feel that so much because a lot of the times we do start out as solo entrepreneurs and we're doing all the things and wearing all the hats and we are the sole business owner and service provider and dealing with clients and customer service and like all the things. So it feels really, really personal and everything that you do feels like it's about you. So if you can see your business as a separate entity and you're doing it for the business or you're making decisions for the business or your
Mm.
business has certain policies and procedures because that's what the business needs. That can be really, really helpful just for your own sanity and mental health, that it actually doesn't have anything to do with you personally. It's what the business is doing or isn't doing and what it needs, right? So, like
Yeah.
thinking of it as something external, I would say it's probably one of the biggest things, but I would say, especially I can think of there were a couple of times, one in particular, where I took like a 2-week hiatus away from my business because I kind of needed to. I was in that
Mm.
pushing a boulder up a hill, crying on the couch type, just like time in my business where I just
Yeah.
didn't feel like what I was doing was working. And I was really, really frustrated and things didn't feel aligned. So allowing yourself to take some time away. I love that quote. I don't know where it first originally comes from. So sorry, I can't quote it officially, but just that idea of allow yourself to rest and not
Mm.
quit is something I feel like I continue to tell myself because taking that time away, whether it's 5 minutes, 5 hours, 5 days, 5 months, you get to decide what that looks like. But taking time away and regulating, getting back down to more of a neutral place, and then deciding what is important and realigning that in your brain to decide how you want to move forward, I think is one of the best things that you can do for yourself is just allow yourself time away and time to not think about your business. Again, whether that's 5 minutes or 5 days or 5 weeks, that gets to be okay because it's your business. It doesn't mean you have to throw in the towel and just decide to quit. I have definitely been there multiple times. And I feel like something that I always come back to for me personally is both my bigger why and what's important to me for from both a business like mission standpoint and also just for me personally. Like I know what owning a business and having my own business gives me in a sense of my lifestyle, like we were talking about giving us more choice and freedom and options for how we want to spend our daily lives and why that's so much more important to me than just going back and getting a traditional day job, which I could do, which probably would be easier. I always say that it'd probably be easier if I could go and do that, but I don't want to. There's
Yeah.
so many more reasons and personal and business related whys, missions, reasons of why that keeps me going and allowing myself time off, tapping back into that, and then deciding, okay, what's truly important for me to move forward and what can I reprioritize my to-do list or like my list of priorities in what I'm working on or what I think I need to move forward. Doing that realignment, back to that alignment piece, but realigning with what's actually important and then deciding where to make changes, again, just gives you so much control when you think you're out of control. That really does help get you back on track and from a more aligned. I'm redoing this in my brain. This feels aligned now. It gets to evolve with you. And then you just keep going. And that's what I've continued to do just time and time again, because God knows I've been there way more times than
Yeah.
I probably want to admit.
That's right. That's right. That's some golden advice right there. And I think that knowing yourself on a very deep level is so important when you're an entrepreneur. So, one thing I would say is do the work, do the personal work on
Absolutely.
yourself, get to know yourself, because otherwise, it is so easy for your identity to become wrapped up in your business and your jobs that when things do go south and things do get messy or a client isn't happy, which is natural human behavior, then that can totally derail you. And then that
Exactly.
derailment bleeds into other areas of your life, like your relationships, your health, your mindset, all of those sorts of things. And it's just not something that you want. So I do think that it's important to take the time to get to know yourself and do the daily work to become the person that you know you are, or to not even become, to reclaim the person, to
Mm,
remember the person that you are,
absolutely.
because there's no other way that you can operate sustainably in a business. Now, Danielle, we have a tradition on this podcast before we head off on our separate directions, not for very long, obviously. I'm sure you and I will be talking again soon.
I hope so.
It's called the book drop. We want to know what book or books. Look, I'm down for multiple if you've got multiple because you are multi passionate. I won't penalize you. That has really impacted you on either a personal or a business level. What have you got?
Oh, so many.
So
Okay,
many.
I have to, of course, they're like sitting next to me too. I have to go with Inspired and Unstoppable by
Ooh,
Tammy Keeves. This is like my
Unstoppable.
Bible. I feel like I have read this book so many times, and it's one of those where I love it because you can read it cover to cover, or you can just open to a chapter, or open to the section that you want, or just open to a random page and just read a little bit. It just is written in such a positive, optimistic tone, but has so many real life examples and how you're feeling, especially on your own business journey or going after a big goal of whatever that looks like for you. So, whether it is starting a business or writing a book or doing something really big for the first time, all of the things that we go through, I just feel like this book, as always, just spoke to my soul so deeply and just kept me going. It was like always exactly what I needed to hear every time I picked it up. So that is definitely one of the biggest things or one of my
Inspired and
favorite
Unstoppable.
books.
What a great title.
I
Thank you for
I
sharing.
yeah, I wanna add just one more too
Oh,
because
of
I
course.
recently read Existential Kink by Carolyn Elliott.
Oh, I've
So
got
for
that
those of
book.
you
Yeah.
for those of you who want to know how to do the work, I feel like
Yeah.
that one was really, really helpful because I feel like it comes at a lot of your, like, shameful or, like, guilty things instead of just sticking to the positive and reframing it, doing all the positive things. It really dives into more of that shadow side, but allows it to be okay and gives you so much permission. It was just such a different feel to personal development, and I love
Mm,
it. So I'll add that one
yeah.
as a second one.
Amazing. I will second that as well. Existential Kink is amazing. I haven't read the other one, although I will be adding it to my extremely long to be read list
Always,
in
right? We'll have to
case I
share
ever
books.
have 800 years to do nothing. I will
Oh
eventually
my
get
god,
through
right?
with
Would
it.
love to just read leisurely for the rest of my life.
Oh my gosh, goals. Actually, I
Seriously.
do read leisurely. As my business, I have made my goal my business. So there you go.
Right?
It is
Speaking of
possible.
alignment, I love it.
Danielle, it has been a pleasure as always. Thank you for blazing the way and empowering people with that watch me message, because it is a choice. You can choose to create the life that you want, or you can choose to be a sheep.
Absolutely. Thank
Yeah.
you so much for having me. I appreciate this.
That's a wrap on today's episode. If you love the insights and inspiration, don't let it end here. Hit subscribe to stay connected and turn your visions into reality alongside our community of changemakers. I'm Tarryn Reeves. Thank you for joining me. And remember, your story has power. See you in the next episode.